Well, welcome back to some more Halloween Extravaganza from 42nd Street Pete's Drive-In. And hey, we've talked about Karloff, we've talked about Lugosi, we haven't talked about Lon Chaney Jr. yet. And even though Lon Chaney Jr. sort of was like typed as a horror star, nah, actually, he was anything but. I mean, that was the genre where we all remember him, but actually, Lon was a really good character actor and played a lot of different roles in a lot of different movies, including played a Western bartender twice in Welcome to Hard Times and Young Fury. He was also one of the outlaws, and this is really cool. He was a pair of the outlaws. His partner was Walter Matthau, and that was in, I think it was Kirk Douglas, the Indian fighter. And then he was a convict in Big House USA with Charles Bronson, Ralph Meeker, Broderick Crawford, other people. And also he was in a couple of Abbott and Costello movies as a heavy. I think it was Here Come the Coeds. I know he was a wrestler, the Mass Marvel. So he was throwing Costello around. So he pretty much was an all-around guy. And the movie that I remember him mostly out of the Wolfman deal was The Indestructible Man, because they used to run that on Chiller Theater all the time. And Lon didn't have much dialogue in there, and the backstory was that he basically told the director, cut out my lines, just give me this. And I think that was when he was really having a problem with the booze, because I remember he used to tell some directors, get what you can out of me before noon. And I also know that in The Black Sleep he had absolutely no dialogue either, and that was like, within, I don't know, a year or so of each other. But anyway, in The Indestructible Man, he's Charles the Butcher Benton, who basically pulled some kind of massive robbery, killed a bunch of people, and the loot was never recovered. And he was turned in by his two partners, Squeamy Ellis and Joe Marcello, and also his crooked lawyer, Paul Lowe. So he's going to the electric chair, and he swears that he's coming back and to kill these guys and to get the money. Well, two low-budget mad scientists, played by Michael Shane, who excels at that, and Joe Flynn from McHale's Navy, buy the body, do some shit to it, and bring it back to life. But then the story is when they brought him back to life, he couldn't talk because the electric current had burned his vocal cords. But it also given him superhuman strength because they're trying to inject him with a needle, and the needle's bending and shit. And then he basically chokes the two of them to death and sets out for revenge against his former allies, shall we say. So once they find out he's gone, and there's a cop that's in charge of this, and he's doing the narration, and that's not my dog you hear. They're sleeping. This cop's doing like almost a Dragnet type narration about the horrors that were about to come. Blah, yeah. So anyway, he goes to this stripper who he was, enamored with, and basically gives her a map, open when I'm dead, but then Paul Lowe steals the thing, trying to figure it out. So he basically starts tracking these guys down and killing them one by one. I think it was Squeamy Ellis is on crutches or something like that, and he throws him off a fucking fire escape and beats the other one to death. Then Lowe turns himself in, and the money is hidden in the sewer system. So basically they go after him in the sewer system. They actually shoot him with a bazooka, which basically doubles him over. And then they hit him with a flamethrower, and he's all burnt up. And then he climbs up onto this electric gird that are like sort of coming together, and that zaps him in the end. And as a kid, I thought this was really fucking cool and stuff, but in retrospect, it's a low budget film that actually works, and it was good for what Lon wanted to do. It's just a shame that for the booze and the smoking and stuff that he was in such ill health toward the end, and just was doing the two Al Adamson movies, The Female Bunch and Frankenstein versus Dracula. But there's a story on that too, because actually Lon liked to fight, and him and Broderick Crawford liked to mix it up and bust up dressing rooms and shit for real. I mean, they were just fool fighting, but actually, doing what they were doing. So they were on the scene where I guess Anthony Isley was supposed to fight Lon, and they were going to use a double, and Lon really wanted to do it. So I read that Anthony Isley got Al on the side and said, look, it's sort of like this guy's last request because he's pretty much dying. He goes, let me do it, I'll, do what I can. He goes, you can just cut it a different way. So, they did it, it worked. Lon put us all into it, and then it was over. He thanked Anthony and walked off screen and threw up because he was on chemo. But, that's what he wanted to do, and he got his last request. So, like I said, it was rough seeing him like that, but I just remember, the guy that was the Wolf Man and Son of Dracula and, so many other great roles. So, like I said, he's one of my favorite. This another story when they had, they all had come out to Chiller one time. It was, Lugosi's son, Bella Jr., Sarah Karloff, and I think it was Lon Chaney, the grandson. And they were the less mercenaries, so the promoter walked up to me with Sarah Karloff and introduced me to her, and she goes, and who was your favorite classic monster star? And I said, Lon Chaney Jr. I said, I love Boris and Bella to death. I said, but I'm being honest with you, it's Lon Chaney Jr. Didn't go over too well. So that's our show for today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. And tomorrow, more Monster Mashes. Stay safe.